Hello, hello. This is the musings of a sanguine Christian woman. And in today's episode, I want to be talking about the fool, those who are playing the fool to fool others. I think they're the ones the Bible calls the simple. And, if you're going to look at the Bible definition, like King James's version of what simple is, it is like somebody, the simple and the foolish, they kind of like in the same vein, like they are synonyms when it comes to the scripture. The simple and the foolish, they're kind of synonymous, but there's also a dynamic to it that is very, very interesting. And so a lot of times when I can gather my thoughts together enough to form a topic that I want to share, it's based on something I've watched or indulged in lately, and I just binge watched like my God, I can't believe I did that. Like, what? It's like I practically watched a 13 hour series. I don't know, that is a bit like the writer has been indulging in too much James Hadley Chase. I was trying to look for something Nigerian, well, because I live in Nigeria, and by virtue of location, you can say I'm Nigerian for now, but I don't really. I claim the tribe I come from based on mother tongue than I claim the country. But yeah, so I was looking for something you can say indigenous that I haven't watched. Somebody mentioned on Twitter the other day that the movies that are Nigerian, that some of them have nudity and it's new. It has nudity and and sexual content that is trying to compete with Hollywood kind of thing. I'm sure they aren't all like that. Like, I've watched a few that I could say comes highly recommended. And this one is like, I just saw it on YouTube, and I just saw this one. I binge watched practically. Like, I didn't sleep throughout I didn't sleep for like 12 hours. It was crazy. At some point I was like, wait, before I, wreck my health in this situation. Like, what exactly, when is this thing ending? So I know what I'm getting involved in. Of course, by the time I found out that I just had like, say, one episode left, or one part 14, so to speak, and I was like in part 13, I was like, well, I'm almost done anyway. But Lord, it was very interesting. A lot of angles to that story. It's called VIP Ladies on YouTube, by just VIP Ladies. You can just type in VIP Ladies Nigerian movie, and then you will see from part 1 to part 14. Like, it's a 1 hour plus per part, so to speak. So it's like movie size in series. Quite interesting. But I think that personally for me, my favorite character would be the guy who was just, it wasn't seen as a good guy. He was very upfront about the fact that he's into illegal stuff and all of that. You can't even see him and call him the good guy. Like, he doesn't even wear that look. Do you understand? He wears the look of somebody who belongs in the underworld. And for me, I value honesty a lot, right? I value honesty wherever I see it, wherever I encounter it. For me, it's not about in that in that whole series, the religious was featured. Was it the one that kept saying it was wrong to divorce, but she went and killed the mistress of her son-in-law to preserve her daughter's marriage? Can you imagine? And she just didn't feel any remorse for it. And the daughter kept saying, look, you're telling her to stay in this relationship like it's against God's will, but did you think about God's will when you went to end the two lives, a pregnant woman? Did you think? And she was like, no, she followed the instinct of a mother. No, she didn't follow the instinct of a Christian at that point in time, apparently. It was just weird. And then you see people, the pretenders, a lot of people were just pretending right there, but there was just one person that I just, what you see, for me, I like the people that just wear who they are out there for everyone to see. You take it or you leave it, it's that. So like I said, I value honesty wherever I see it, right? So, because I don't want, when the characters began to unfold, the ones that seemed nice just ended up being so horrible. So horrible. They pretend to be cool, they pretend to be nice, but in actual fact, they're just they're green, they're chameleonic in nature, and that is even dangerous. And for me, when someone, has this so-called calm persona, calm, unruffled, it's a nice thing to behold, I guess, but it's not. You get fooled by that, because anybody can act that. What is your real intent? What is underneath all of that? So there was a guy, God has been good to me. He has, from time to time, God helps me to discern people's character and people's persona, where I'm able to psychologically decode some people, So I just, all the character from the beginning that seemed nice, I was just watching. I'm like, okay, we'll see, because some of them were just taking abuse. And from what I have learned, people who just absorb abuse, they usually have something to hide, whether a secret of their own or a mean streak themselves. They have a wicked streak to them, and when they unleash, your jaws drop, and you are having a hard time closing your mouth, which was what practically happened. Now, there were two characters there that people were like, oh, they should just leave their abusive husband. Oh, they should just leave their abusive wife, and I was just wondering why they were just accepting a lot of nonsense, and I'm like, what, this isn't normal. This person, there's something really, really off with this person that keeps accepting, bad behavior, or it's just seems to be oblivious to what everybody else can obviously see, they try to digress. And I see a lot of, and in that story, there are two characters majorly that stand out. And you find a situation where, everybody was trying to save them, right? Because they seemed like the damsel or lad in distress, so to speak. And you had somebody who was trying to rescue them from the abusive relationship they were in, and they just turned back and just beat someone as if they were some serpent or something. It was interesting to behold. I was just like, aha, there you have it. This is why they can accept these things, because they are just biding their time, waiting for when to strike. The first one, one of the major ones that was the guy that was just, whose wife was just, emotionally abusive to him, and he was just accepting it. But what really made me think that the guy was not as, saintly as some people would want to think, was that they had this housemaid that was always interfering in their issues. She had erratic behavior. One moment she would be nice and understanding, the next moment she's rude, but mostly she's always like repeating conversations that she had no business listening into. And the guy just accepted everything as is, and I think it's majorly because she worked for them for free when he could not afford to pay her. But in actual fact, she was obsessed with the man. She wanted him in her head. You can say she's schizophrenic, so in her head, the guy was her husband and his wife was just, hurting him and all of that. And all that built up until it got to a criminal climax, if you may. But I think, the guy indulged her because she was nice to him. She was cooking for him for free, washing his clothes without collecting money from him. And, so it was an issue of they were trying to eat their cake and have it without knowing that there was a price to pay. And it was quite unfortunate that he wasn't the one who paid the price. It was the person who thought he was innocent, and that one was trying to rescue him. That was the person that took the fall for that whole drama, and that is where I am, trying to emphasize right now, is that don't be so quick to think, don't be so quick to be the knight or the warrior in shiny armor, be it male or female. No matter how you feel about somebody, if they are not choosing you and they are not listening to what you're saying, it just means that you are not birds of the same feather. That's just the truth. And they say birds of the same feather flock together. The emphasis on that was just so obvious in that story, because you find like 3 people who are always seen together, and one of them seemed like the one that wasn't indulging or doing the things that all of them, the other 2 were doing. But she ended up, caving in under pressure. So at the end of the day, she was just like the others, but she just needed pressure. Pressure is what was necessary for her to just become just like them or equal as them. There's also the part of bad company, which her husband kept harping on and on. But I think more than that, it was just what it was. Then there was the other guy that was the simple, in quotes, guy, that was the lad in distress, in quotes, that was just spilling everybody's secrets but his own. Like, he couldn't just keep his mouth shut. A lot of trouble happened because he kept tale-bearing. My goodness. He would hear something from his wife and tell somebody, the person concerned. It was like he felt like, maybe bad about himself, and he was trying to wreck everybody else he could wreck, And some people were saying, oh, this guy can't just keep his mouth shut, he can't keep his secret. But he kept it a secret that he was going to abscond with his wife's ill-gotten money, right? Like, he was going to siphon ill-gotten money from his wife and flee the country. He was very mute about that one. He didn't say anything. He practically blackmailed the lady. Technically, you can't even say she's a lady because she didn't really behave properly. But, she was in a tight corner and she was like, she needs a lawyer. And it was like, well, you have to give me access to your account. And I saw what desperation can do to somebody. Like, she just, because she had nobody else to call. Everybody, all of her friends were in one deep crap or the other, so they were not even in the position to really help. So this was the only person that could help. Now, when he ended up knowing that the crime she was accused of really wasn't her fault, he didn't even think of informing the authorities. He just wanted it pinned on his wife as punishment for personal vendetta, And I was thinking that the person who put herself on the line to save you, you didn't even think that you should get her proper justice, irrespective of what you think of the sister, or what you think of, the person you were so ready to see go down, So he just went on with his life like that, and I'm like, wow. You see, these people that seem happy-go-lucky, I'm not comfortable with that vibe, because I think it's a facade, as far as I'm concerned, to cover a character flaw. They're like people who just have this sunny personality, don't get angry, always, subservient, simple and subservient. For me personally, I think they are volcanoes. Truly, I think they are volcanoes, and when they erupt, you don't want to see, my God, I really don't want to see like a volcano erupt, because when it does, liquid fire comes out. Liquid, like river of fire, lava is what it's called, erupts and runs and destroys everything around them. Everything around them is just destroyed. Sometimes it is water that gushes out when there is a volcanic eruption, and something provokes it, like a pressure. But then again, if they don't have that thing in them, why would they be provoked though? So that thing is embedded in them. So that thing is embedded in them. So they just, they just destroy everything around them. So I don't even know what to call this, like the danger of the fool. Don't let the fool fool you. Yeah, I think that's just about it. Don't let the fool fool you. The person you think is subservient and meek, doesn't get angry. When somebody does something bad to them, they react in a kind, gentle manner. Oh Lord, they are suppressing something, and eventually what they are suppressing will erupt. And when it does, it's not a matter of if, it's a when. So I'm not so into people that are not expressive about their emotions. Now, when I say expressive about your emotions, I don't mean you are all over the place emotionally. Like when you are angry, you yell, you shout, you curse, you swear. As much as that is understandable, I don't stand for that as well. And I don't stand for when you're sad, you just, when you're sad, I think that's permissible. When you're grieving, nobody should police anyone's grieving. However, I think that emotional intelligence and emotional maturity is very, very important, where this is how you feel and this is how you react, and then you try to control it. So it's not that people will not hear that you are upset, but you're able to pick your words carefully and control yourself. So you're under control. You're not faking. There's a difference between, speaking angrily and still be respectful without yelling and using a foul language, like it's obvious, people can tell that you are angry, than when you now pretend to be calm, you're smiley. That right there is a bit psycho, in my opinion. It's a bit psycho, where you don't know how. It reminds me of what someone a saying, a cliche in one novel that I read, that never marry a man until you see him handle a flat tire. And it was funny, but it wasn't funny at the same time, because when it comes to the cars, when it comes to cars and men, you get to see the real emotions. When it comes to things, you see their real emotions a lot of time. If they own a car, or they're very attached to something. You see that something they're attached to. When something goes wrong with it, the way they react is their reality, right? So if a guy seems to be like a gentleman, he's always cool, calm, and collected, and then he has a flat tire, and then he gets down and he kicks the tire, that's not somebody you want to marry, Because look, here is the thing. If a guy kicks a tire when the tire is flat, while you're in a relationship, people will tell you, it will seem ridiculous to break up with a guy because he kicks a flat tire, because they were like, oh, it's a normal reaction, it was just venting. But if he now begins to kick you after you guys get married, or even farther into the relationship, the same people, maybe not the same people, but people also ask you, like, well, didn't you see the signs before? And you'd be like, well, he kicked his tire once, and they'll be like, oh, there it is. And sometimes I almost roll my eyes like, what do you mean? Do you really leave a guy because he kicked a tire? But that's the reality. You have to. If he does that with an object that cannot defend itself, what do you think he would do to you? You know what I mean? Like, if he sees you, if you go flat in any area, you understand, you're not moving at the speed, whether it's emotionally, whether it's whatever, like you're not in alignment with what he wants, you're almost at the point of getting kicked yourself. That's just the truth. Or maybe he's so polite and nice, and he treats people that are not of the same career status, not just career status alone. They are not of the same career circle that he's in, or social circle that he's in, like the waiters and waitresses, the gate men, the what you can call the homeless, the people on the streets. I mean, how does he treat them? A person can actually pretend, of course, that he's a kind person to all of these people, but sometimes you can't fake compassion, right? You can create a place where you are faking it, but when you treat these people, when you are angry and you just talk to them anyhow, like a guy or a woman switches from, oh, hello, how are you, to, what is this nonsense you just put in front of me? Why would you put this? Get this away from me. Get this away from me. Get out. You this, you whatever. And says, you know what? And then they switch from that to, oh, I'm so sorry. This is, I'm really sorry. And you don't think that is a problem, that a person can just switch character like that, can switch from being sweet to rude in a split second, practically. And it doesn't bother you because, oh, it's not you that is being done to. Which is why I have an axe. Well, maybe not axe, but I have a word or two, a thought or two that aren't so nice about women of other races who marry and date black men that disrespect black women. Like, something must be wrong with you. Because how do you even think that is okay? Like how? Now this, of course, that is going into the realm of racism, but beyond that, why is it okay for a man to treat you well, but he treats other women badly, and you don't think that is a problem? Because personally, if a man is talking nonsense about a woman in my presence, I'll be like, you better just shut it right there and change the subject, or I get out. You will not disrespect a woman in my presence. I don't care what your issues are, but you will not disrespect a woman in my presence. Because I'm a woman, you're disrespecting me. Hello? You disrespect a woman in my presence, you disrespect me. That's the way I feel about things, and that's how I express it. So you can imagine my surprise when some women don't think it's a problem that a man is disrespectful to, other women but them. And some men don't see a problem when a woman is nice to them but unnice to other men or something. I don't know. It's just don't be fooled by meekness and gentleness and someone who's playing the fool, who is acting like the fool. Don't let the fool fool you, because you might end up being a victim, and they will just ride off in the sunset with the booties. They know how to take care of themselves, really. But they will play, maybe it's a subconscious thing, which makes it even worse, actually. But they can survive. If someone is adamant in nonsense, like they refuse to be sensible, to do what any sensible person should be doing. If they're educated and they refuse to behave like an educated person, you just keep your distance, man, because when they wreck, believe me, you're going to be, just remember a volcano. That's all. A volcano stays on its own and is nice when it's not disturbed. But when there's a disturbance, they erupt. So when a person is always courting trouble, like they're always staying around trouble, there are avenues to escape trouble, but they just stick there for reasons you can't even comprehend. Like, why are you staying in this situation? There are ways out for you. It's not just ways out, but you refuse to take them. Why? And then they give you excuses that don't even make sense. Just keep your distance. Don't try to rescue them. Especially if you've tried once and twice. If you don't, you have to get out of the situation, because you could get hurt. And they will just escape the situation and come out smelling like a rose. And what would happen to you? So don't be the fool in helping someone you think is foolish. Don't be. A wise person would take help when they see it. A fool will keep turning down help. And when that happens, you keep your distance far from them and move with people that are like minds like you. How about that? People who are sensible and follow and who have sensibilities, who work in common sense, not stubbornly stick to nonsense or senselessness. That's just the message right there. Don't stick with the fool or someone playing the fool. Especially when you think that they deserve better, you think they know better. If they deserve better, they know better, and there are better options for them, and they take nothing, they do nothing, they just stay in mediocrity. Get out before you get hurt. Get out before you get hurt. Oh, sure, when they're in trouble, they come, oh, I need your help. You'll be like, just block them or something. I think that might be best. You block them. You let them know that, look, if you're not going to take my advice and you're not going to take you're not going to take any option, you're not listening to anybody, I'll just keep my distance because this is not healthy for me. So you keep your distance. Don't be friends, or don't befriend people who choose to be foolish. Despite the fact that they just see the part of sense. The part of sense is so broad and decorated, but no, they divert from that and start to enter into the thick bush of senselessness. Then you know that this person is probably not as nice or kind as you like to think they are. Well, guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the issues of life. The book of Daniel says, they that know their God shall be strong, and they shall do exploits. 2 Timothy, I believe, 1:7. Says, God has not given you the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of a sound mind. It also says that you should love your neighbor as yourself. So you have to learn to love yourself first. And before you can really love yourself, you have to love God first. When you love God first, you know the proper way to really love. And you will not get fooled by someone who is playing the fool. Yeah? Shalom.